You know, when you reach an age like 85, people expect yours, but that is not really how it feels. What comes back to me most often are not the victories, but the people.
At 85 years old, most champions would be content reminiscing about trophies and records. But for one golf legend, the memories that matter most aren't about winning. They're about the 5 men who taught him everything that mattered. These weren't just rivals or contemporaries. They were teachers, mirrors, and in some cases, the reason he became who he was. What he learned from them changed not just his game, but the entire sport itself. When you think about greatness in golf, you think about the individual standing alone on the course. No teammates, no excuses, just you, the club, and the consequences of every decision. But here's what most people miss. Even the greatest players didn't get there alone. They watched, they learned, they absorbed lessons from the men around them. And for this legend, 5 names stand above all others. 5 players who each carried a piece of the puzzle he needed to complete his own journey. The first name might surprise you, but it shouldn't. Ben Hogan never won a popularity contest. He didn't smile for cameras or work the crowd. What he did was something far more powerful. He showed an entire generation what willpower actually looks like. Not the Hollywood version, not the motivational poster kind. The real thing. The kind that wakes up every morning and chooses the hard path because it's the only one worth walking. Picture this. A car accident that should have ended everything. Doctors saying you'll never walk properly again, let alone compete. Most people would have taken that as a sign. Hogan took it as a challenge. But here's what separated him from everyone else. He didn't come back for the applause or the sympathy. He came back because quitting wasn't in his vocabulary. He rebuilt himself swing by swing, morning after morning, in practice sessions nobody saw. The comeback wasn't the miracle. The daily choice to keep going, that was the real story. Our legend watched Hogan practice once, close enough to hear the impact. He describes it as different, cleaner, more certain. You could close your eyes and know it was him. That's when the lesson landed. Greatness isn't about being the loudest or most charismatic person in the room. Sometimes it's quiet, almost severe. It's about setting a standard for yourself that's higher than anything anyone else expects. Hogan made everyone around him honest. You couldn't watch him work and then allow yourself to be casual about the game. He forced you to raise your own bar whether you wanted to or not. But Hogan taught something deeper that took decades to fully understand. Willpower isn't about forcing your way through obstacles. It's about becoming the type of person who can face them without flinching. He didn't defeat hardship. He transformed it into fuel. His strength came from refusing to let pain write the final chapter. Every morning, he chose to be someone who could handle what the day brought. That choice, repeated thousands of times, became his legacy. Then came someone completely different. Someone who didn't just play the game, but rewrote the entire rulebook. Tiger Woods arrived like a storm nobody saw coming. The energy around him felt sharp, focused, dangerous in the best possible way. From the first time our legend watched him move across a fairway, he knew this wasn't just another talented kid. This was someone who already knew where he was going before the rest of the world figured out the destination existed. What made Tiger different wasn't just the talent. Plenty of players have talent. It was the intensity. Tiger treated preparation like a religion. His fitness regimen, his mental routine, his practice schedule. Everything operated on a level that made the previous generation's discipline look almost quaint. He didn't want to be good. He wanted to explore every corner of what great could possibly mean. And in doing that, he forced everyone else to reimagine what was even possible. The legend remembers standing near the ropes during Tiger's dominant years. The air would change when Tiger stepped up to a shot. Galleries that usually buzzed with conversation would fall silent in a way that felt almost sacred. It wasn't fear. It was respect. People understood they were watching someone rewrite history in real time, and they didn't want to miss a single moment. Tiger didn't just win. He commanded attention in a way that made every shot feel like it mattered to the entire sport. But here's what impressed the legend most: Tiger's willingness to tear everything down and rebuild it. Most players find success and try to protect it, preserve it, hold on to it as long as possible. Tiger would dismantle his own swing, his own approach, his own methods, and reconstruct them from scratch. That takes a kind of courage most people never see, because from the outside, it looks unnecessary. Why fix what isn't broken? Because Tiger understood something fundamental. If you want to last, you can't stay still. The game evolves. Your competition evolves. You evolve, or you disappear. Then there were the comebacks. Tiger's journey wasn't a straight line to glory. He rose. He fell. He faced challenges that would have ended most careers. But he kept coming back, not because he was untouched by failure, but because he refused to let failure write the ending. He showed an entire generation that greatness isn't a single moment. It's the willingness to evolve, to learn, to rebuild even when the world thinks you've already given everything. Tiger expanded the definition of possible, and once you expand a definition, it never shrinks back. Now let's talk about someone who played the game like nobody else ever has. If Hogan was discipline and Tiger was intensity, Sevy Ballesteros was pure imagination. Watching Sevy play golf was like watching someone paint with risk and courage. You never knew what might happen next, and that unpredictability was exactly the point. The legend remembers the first time he saw Sevy handle a difficult lie. Most players would look for the safest escape route. Sevy would look for the most creative one, inventing shots that didn't seem to exist until he created them right there on the spot. There was electricity around Sevy. The club in his hands looked alive, like it responded to emotion as much as physics. He trusted his instincts more than any guidebook or conventional wisdom. Some players rely on repetition, others on calculation. Sevy relied on feel. When his creativity connected perfectly with the moment, you could sense the entire crowd feel it at the same time. It wasn't just golf. It was performance art. What the legend learned from Sevy changed his entire perspective. Golf isn't only about discipline or precision. It's also about expression. The game has room for structure, but it also needs soul. It needs players who remind everyone that there is more than one way to chase a dream. Sevy refused to let golf turn him into something predictable. He preserved the wildness in his game, the spark that made him unique. Even his mistakes were interesting. Even his recoveries were memorable. The lesson stuck. Don't be afraid to be yourself out there. The course isn't just a test. It's a canvas. And rare players, truly rare ones, treat it as such. They paint with risk, with courage, with imagination. That fire, that refusal to play it safe, that's something you can't teach. You're born with it, or you're not. Sevy had it in abundance, and watching him reminded the legend that golf needed room for magic alongside all the mechanics. But some relationships go beyond lessons and techniques. Some become defining forces in your entire career. When people talk about the legend's career, one name appears almost as often as his own: Arnold Palmer. Their lives became intertwined long before either understood what it meant. Arnold was already beloved when the legend arrived on the scene, a force of nature who pulled crowds toward him wherever he went. The energy would shift just because he stepped onto the tee. What made Arnold special wasn't just how he played, it was how he carried himself. He had a presence that felt warm, human, accessible. He connected with people in a way few athletes ever manage. Fans didn't just admire him, they believed in him. They felt included in his journey. But when he stepped inside the ropes, that warmth transformed into fierce determination. He played with emotion, with grit, with fearless intensity that made even simple shots feel dramatic. The legend learned something crucial from their rivalry. Competition is only destructive when it lacks respect. Theirs never did. They pushed each other constantly, but never to tear the other down. They pushed because the game deserved their best. And because of that mutual respect, both of them rose higher than they would have alone. Walking down fairways beside Arnold, the legend realized that rivalries could be constructive, even beautiful, when built on the right foundation. Arnold played with his heart on his sleeve. When he was behind, he attacked. When he was ahead, he still attacked. There was no holding back, no playing it safe. The crowd could feel everything he projected, every emotion, every moment of determination. And because he gave them honesty, they gave him loyalty. The legend watched and learned that connection matters. The game isn't played in a vacuum. The energy you bring affects everyone around you. But the deeper mark Arnold left came outside competition. Despite all the pressure, Despite moments when fans actively rooted against the legend because they loved Arnold so much, Arnold never stopped being generous. He treated everyone with fairness and grace. That kind of character stays with you. It shapes how you choose to treat others for the rest of your life. As years passed, their rivalry evolved into friendship, respect, and shared understanding of what it means to devote your life to something that demands everything. The legend reflects on this often now. Being linked to Arnold Palmer for decades isn't a burden, it's an honor. When you're connected to someone of that character, that passion, that integrity, you're connected to something greater than wins and losses. You're connected to what the game should be. Then there's Gary Player, whose name became synonymous with relentless discipline. Gary was part of the legend's story for so long, their careers felt woven together from the beginning. The first word that comes to mind when thinking about Gary: discipline. Pure, unquestionable, relentless discipline. Gary never approached anything casually. Not competition, not practice, not even the walk from one shot to the next. Everything carried intention. The legend remembers seeing Gary train when everyone else was barely awake. He treated his body like the engine of his career and maintained it with dedication that was decades ahead of its time. Most players back then didn't talk about fitness or nutrition. Gary was already living it, and because of that, he stayed strong and competitive long after others had faded. The lesson was clear. Longevity isn't an accident. It's a choice you make every single day. But beyond the physical preparation, Gary's mindset left the deepest impression. He had an ability to stay positive even when situations looked impossible. The legend watched him face tough lies, difficult conditions, and setbacks that would frustrate anyone. Gary's reaction was almost always the same: smile, gather himself, move forward, as if the challenge was something he'd been waiting for. That attitude wasn't naive. It was deliberate, a declaration that the moment wouldn't control him. One memory stands out: watching Gary pull himself back into a tournament that seemed to be slipping away. Most players tighten up when pressure rises. Gary grew calmer. He believed that as long as he stayed committed to his process, something good could still happen. The legend learned that momentum isn't something you wait for. It's something you create through commitment and belief. Their friendship developed over years of shared travel, practice rounds, and mutual respect. They couldn't have been more different in some ways, yet they understood each other deeply because they understood what the game demanded. When you have someone in your life who works as hard as Gary, you don't want to fall behind. You want to match that effort, that hunger, that standard. Gary pushed everyone around him to be better simply by example. What the legend appreciates most is Gary's generosity. He never kept wisdom to himself. If he learned something valuable, he'd share it. Not to show off, but to help, to encourage, to lift others up. That's rare in competitive sports. When you encounter it, you remember it forever. Gary taught that golf isn't only about striking a ball well. It's about preparing your mind, body, and spirit to withstand everything the sport throws at you. So what does it all mean? Looking back across decades, the legend sees something clear. These 5 men weren't just great players. They were mirrors reflecting different parts of what golf demands from a person. Hogan showed the weight of commitment, the kind that starts before sunrise and continues long after crowds leave. Tiger proved the game evolves, and so must we, no matter how much we think we know. Sevy brought magic, proof that imagination belongs even in the most disciplined pursuits.